I got a PhD in computer science, and I've been working in AI for now over 10 years. Now it's 2025, I can say 11 years now, since 2014. What I do in my day-to-day life is actually I am implementing enterprise AI projects with customers that I have here and all over the world, for specialized solutions, but also for generalized solutions. And I'm doing that on a platform that we built in-house. It's called entAIngine. And I have delivered, yeah, not a dozen. I think that's outdated. We were checking the other week. We have delivered 43 applications in the last 2.5 years, from projects that go from proof of concept up, but also into production. And what I am doing next to that, if any of you want to connect, feel free to scan here my LinkedIn account. I also give courses on Udemy here and there on people more in executive positions, more in leadership positions, talking about yeah, AI strategy. And exactly that's what I am going to talk with you about today in this webinar. And I actually will start with what I'm not going to talk about. I'm not going to give you an introduction on this is ChatGPT. It can do quite a lot of different things for you. You can generate text and it looks like an actual person. If you are in this webinar today, I am pretty sure you have heard that story more than enough. And I'm pretty sure you have more than enough real world experience that I don't need to tell you how to use ChatGPT, how to get your hands on it. But what I want to pick you up is basically the next step after, I would say, this initial wave one of generative AI applications. Because all of these, I call this now ChatGPT, but ChatGPT like natural language processing interfaces have triggered quite some disruptive change in our businesses. On these 43 projects that I've been part of, I have actually seen that on the very first line of business, so to speak. But we have evolved, right? We are not in that state anymore where we are in the situation of, oh, can I figure out how to use a chat a GPT in our account? Do we have a Microsoft Copilot laying somewhere around? These initial getting started discussions, I had them with customers for over 2 years. There's still people who are still getting into it, but not only the organizations have evolved, but also the field itself has evolved. And that's what I would like to talk with you about today. I would like you to introduce you to what I have seen and what I have labeled the 4 stages of the AI journey. Talked with you about important learnings that I had looking in other organizations during their, let's say, first wave of AI engagements, projects, and initiatives in the last 2 years mostly. I would like to talk about organizations, about the company AI framework, how to have AI hubs that enable ideally many different people to do many different things within the company with AI. And lastly, I'm talking with you about generalized versus specialized solutions. In the end, I hope that you have all of that you have the input to take for you and for your organization the next steps on scaling up your AI efforts and having many more people involved in AI and creating more value. That's what I would like to at least set you on the path for today, where I'm very happy to have a very good discussion with you. Also in the end. This webinar is going to be recorded. We have quite a few people in here today. So if you have to drop out at any point in time, don't worry, you will get an email from us after we have processed this webinar so that you can also watch it again. And if you have any type of question during the webinar itself, feel free to write it in the meeting chat. I have them here on my second screen. So if I am looking to the left side, it's not because I'm streaming there the last season of Andor on Disney Plus. So it's because I am actually sitting there and looking if there are any questions. My assistant Emilia is also here for any of your questions that may arise at any point in time. So feel free to do that. And with that, I would like to get you a little bit onboarded of what the four different stages in terms of the evolution of getting your hands into AI in organizations are that I see. When I talk about organizations, I talk mostly about mid-sized and enterprises. So mid-sized companies and enterprises, where we have usually not one person doing something with AI. But a bunch of different people. By the way, I consciously say doing something with AI because there is a whole bunch of different things that you can do with AI. But today we are focusing mostly on generative AI, everything that is there with generating text, text to speech, generating images, everything that is in this category of AI. We're not talking today about um, AI-based stock trading or anomaly detection on sensor data. That's not the part what we're talking about today. We are mostly talking about anything of generative application that you can see. And usually, specifically in that point 2 years ago, you know, when ChatGPT was coming out, a lot of people got very quickly their hand on it. And that's what I call the ChatGPT moment until now, where people just played around. They understood what this new, quite disruptive technology can and what it cannot do in the very beginning. And many companies made a strategic decision to at least explore this opportunity. And this exploration phase that you saw initially was, depending on the organization that you were talking to, rather, yeah, had different flavors. Let's say it like this. There were companies that they were doing it very unstructured, where people were just getting accounts for ChatGPT or other chat applications like in Microsoft Azure, for example, to build first proof of concept with quick first good results. Sometimes not so. But I see that I've also seen other innovations over the last couple of years when I compare that to the other hype cycle that I have been previously involved in before the AI hype cycle was coming on, which was the blockchain hype cycle, where a lot of the projects got stuck in the exploration phase because you could never really find the business value. With AI and specifically generative AI, that's not a problem. Have seen so many proof of concepts where people directly afterwards wanted to go to production, where I say this is a very disruptive technology with a very broad thing. But it also means that for the people who have to make that work, this larger scale comes with additional challenges. And one of the realizations that many people had is that just having ChatGPT or a ChatGPT-like application is not enough. There's often more complex structures. You would like to access company data, there's compliance challenges, and there's also the problem of upskilling people, right? You can say, yeah, everything is a chat interface, and just typing stuff in a chat interface is just the way that people have to roll now. Yeah, then this is the part of it. But at some point in time, I always came to many different conclusions, many different parts, where just having an interface where everybody chats is not enough, and where there is a need for more specialized solutions. ChatGPT is a very generalized solution. You can do anything with it. You can do everything with it that you want. But for when it comes to the last 20% of actually making something production great, people often start implementing their own processes and applications that use a large language model, but that do not necessarily use a chat interface in front of it. And that comes then to the point, which is the fourth point in this process, that organizations need to scale their development of proof of concepts and turn them into productive apps. Yeah. And I do work in my day-to-day life often with people that are an AI leadership position of some sort. Yeah. I have big companies that do it differently, that have AI hubs. I have people that lead very small and specialized AI initiatives. I have seen a bunch of different views on how that could evolve and also what that means in terms of technical challenges. And that's what we are going to talk about. But before we're going to talk about this aspect, I would like to talk about this first AI wave that I just referred to as a, from the time from ChatGPT got launched, it got its way into the enterprise until now. Um, and I would like to talk about what organizations have done and what people have done until here. Organizations have pretty much often played around, get acquainted with the fundamentals of using generative AI, and also found quite a lot of value. That's at least with my experience of these 43 different projects that I've been doing together with my bigger team in the last couple of years, and have seen the future potential for the organization. Some of these applications might already be in production, but generally this very first, the beginnings of AI have been marked by this. But organizations are not only organizations also have also people in them. And people that work or have to work with AI if they want it or not, sometimes it feels like that at least, have also undergone an evolution of that. So they understood what generative AI generally can do, and what it will do to their work life, to say. I had in the beginning many discussions because there was, the typical LinkedIn crowd rage baiting you about, oh, AI is going to make us all unemployed. And I see this discussion has evolved in the last 2 years in a different way, in more of an augmentation versus replacement versus scalability versus adjustment situation. So yes, AI has an impact. I don't have the time to go into all of these details here today. But that's something where I want you to be aware that the people in your organization that are using AI have found their own position towards that. Either they are trying to just not touch it, try to be the ones that will touch it last, unless they have to. You have people that are users of it, and you have a bunch of people that want to be leaders in AI and that want to position themselves within the organization as a leader. For example, when you have more centralized AI approaches, where there's one department in an organization, there's people who say, yeah, I see this as a chance for me, for myself, maybe for my career, but also for maybe what I believe in, or what I think my future is going to be like, or what excites me. I want to become a leader in this AI world. Some people just try to avoid it as much as possible. So that's something it's very important to understand, that not everybody is seconding our enthusiasm in this technology. And that's very important to understand before I get now into the technical details, where generative AI lives in an organization. And therefore, and in that area, I have seen in mid-sized companies and enterprises in the last couple of years, basically three different approaches: the centralized approach, the decentralized approach, and the hybrid approach. The centralized approach, as you may be seeing here on the left side, is that there is a new AI department, task force group with a new head, product owner, manager, AI leader, whatever you call them, is there with a bunch of people that are there to basically bundle all of the efforts that different departments of the companies have for different use cases. And usually, this AI department gets this mandate to be the AI task force, or however you want to call it, from a rather high position in that company. And this setup is pretty common, and is also a huge potential for an organization, because you have one single responsible department with one single responsible head to this department usually, where let's say people, when you have a top-down approach where the CEO is saying, hey, we are trying to use AI in our processes now as much as we want, where they have the most control over what is coming there. That's because it's coming from the top down. But it also comes with some challenges. I have often worked with companies where you have the situation that, yeah, everybody wants to do something with AI, but you have so many different processes, and you have so many different, let's say, wishes that are being put in the wish box that is coming to the AI department, that they can't really get a hand of all of the use cases that are getting inquired. And in these situations, these AI departments often, let's say, how could I phrase that, fall back to building solutions that can be scaled, but that are rather generalized. Example for that is the company chatbot, my company GPT, company name chat, where we have a setup in a compliant, secure environment with a large language model that has over retrieval augmented generation, for example, access to company data, or do certain other things on top of that. In the end, these generalized solutions still require you to write prompts, interact with it in the same way like you do it with ChatGPT. The benefit of it is that you can get really a lot of people onboarded very quickly. And usually that's one of the KPIs that these AI heads, probably we have a couple of these type of personas under us today, but that's what I have seen that is there. It's a good for the beginning, but comes also with pros and cons. Then we have the decentralized approach, where you have in your departments themselves a bunch of people that have a slew of different solutions that they are using. And you have maybe something, I would like to build an agent that helps me to do XYZ. I have here this automation platform that can also use LLMs. I would like to automate my business process. And I have here a bunch of prompts that I put to ChatGPT for the things that I'm doing in my day-to-day life. The benefit of this approach is that you are not building an overgeneralized solution for everybody, but that you have very specific pain points, and you have the people that actually have these pain points looking for solutions and building these solutions, or being there in the implementation of these solutions by themselves. So it's not something that is coming from the top down, but something that's more coming from the bottom up. Yeah, it's more of a grassroots type of situation that you have here. The benefit of that is you have really agency. People want to use this tool to automate with AI this process because it pains them, because it's a chore that they have to do in their day-to-day life. Yeah. And that gives them quite a bit of agency. Yeah. They have a bigger drive, and they have more they are more impact driven, which is for the organization themselves, the organization itself, pretty helpful, because you're avoiding just building something that in the end nobody uses. But has also challenges, because if you have too many of these initiatives in too many different places, you have a wild growth of different solutions, and compliance and oversight might at some point in time be, let's say, challenging. And you might not be the most cost effective way. Then you have Department A that is getting a ChatGPT subscription. You have Department B who is buying a Microsoft Copilot subscription, and you have Department C, I don't know, having a subscription to an automation platform, and then you have different API keys, and this all becomes a little bit inefficient and hard to manage. And that's why there is also a middle way between these different ways, between the centralized and the decentralized approach, which I call obviously the hybrid approach. So you have an AI department, but it's clear that the AI department cannot just implement all of the wishes of everybody by themselves. And overgeneralized solutions help for certain things, but maybe not for everything. So if you have a setup where you have certain, we call them AI champions in the different departments that have roundtables or other type of engagement channels with the actual AI department that can coordinate together how everything that comes, while the implementation of the different AI powered applications is actually being driven by the people that have the impact. Um, that's a good setup. It tries to basically combine the pros of both approaches, but of course you can have sometimes you can have conflicts when you're working with different people that have different conflicting motives. What I have seen also very often is that someone in an organization sees also the AI hype now as an opportunity for their career, which I think is something pretty good because then people have an internal motivation and internal drive. But at some point in time, when you have two people like that and they both want to get use case A under their wings, that might lead to a bunch of different internal conflicts that you need to politically navigate. Let's say it like that. And I have seen that for quite a few cases, especially in bigger companies. Just that, that you know that this is also a downside that it has. So then we have talked about how organizations are doing something on an organization level, how they are organized. But uh, you know that it is different when you are working in a company than when you are just a private person putting your credit card into ChatGPT Pro and buying it for $19 a month. There is boundaries that organizations do have in which they operate. And I would like to show you a very high level schematic of these boundaries, what I call the AI framework that an organization, in my opinion, has to think about and develop for themselves. Yeah, this is now not something that you can just buy. I'm not talking here about the technology framework, but I'm talking more about a company-wide organizational and implementation framework that goes into how you do that. So let me show you this or explain this little picture to you. In the end, there is in the middle there is what I call an AI-powered application. That might be a chat application. That might be different agents. Maybe very quickly on the term agent. Agents are basically applications that do more or less autonomously tasks on your behalf. So everything that involves an LLM can be a part of an agent or can be orchestrated with agentic behavior generally. So these terms are often being used and abused in many different ways, but that's my definition of an agent, some sort of application that can, on the behalf of its user, do something autonomously. Yeah? Within a certain boundary, and the boundary is what we are talking about. This box over here gives us the boundaries of our AI applications, and the four main categories are organization and governance, ethics, compliance and regulation, and quality and risks. So organization we very quickly touched on. This is how and who is doing something with AI in the organization. That's not only who is building and who is using, but it also is who is operating, who is maintaining, who is updating all of these applications, who is making sure that the bills are being paid, who is making sure that they are optimized and they are up to date. Because that's a very, very specific challenge that we have to AI. This is the fastest moving innovation, or specifically like the wave of AI, generative AI in the last 2.5 years. This is the fastest moving wave of any type of innovation that I have seen in the past 10, 15 years or so. That also means that there's quite a lot of different change. There's new models coming out. There's different frameworks and applications and products that are being pushed to you on the whole from the whole salespeople, from Microsoft partners, and from Google Success Managers, and from all of this place. And that needs an organization and a governance frame around it so that we are not completely falling apart. Who is doing what? Where are we working with? Who is responsible for what? And and where are we going. There's many more different aspects to that. We have today an hour, so I think going into each of these aspects would take me an hour. So just take it for that at this level of abstraction over here. The terms of ethics are also coming pretty often, especially here. I'm working mostly with European companies, where everything with ethics, compliance, and regulation is, on the one hand, a big fear, and the other hand, also for some people, very important to be in there. I think that what you are doing as a business, being ethical, is the most important, is a very important thing in here. So ethics and ethical guidelines on when and how to use AI in your organization should be a part of that frame that puts the frame around the framework. Compliance and regulation obviously goes in a similar direction. GDPR, but also internal data privacy and guidelines that you have would also dictate a lot of this technology framework. Yeah, there might be people saying, "Yeah, we are a Microsoft house. We buy nothing but Microsoft. That's our that's our internal." Guideline because we have gone through all of the compliance observations over that. I tell you that locking yourself into one vendor is mostly not a good idea, but if that's what you have to work with, that's what you have to work with. Just on that note. Then we have also quality and risk. AI applications, specifically if you have them for the core of your business processes, you know how LLMs can hallucinate, how they can maybe sometimes not produce completely accurate information depending on how they're orchestrated. So that means there's a certain quality and risk aspect. And the boundaries in which we are happy and able to deal with these quality and risk aspects should be a part of your company AI framework. Then this is the frame, and then what is inside there, what is inside there is actually your application, the technology framework, and what many people forget, a monitoring and evaluation framework. Yeah, because cost, adoption, impact, if you just build a proof of concept and say, yeah, now it's here, everybody can use it, and you have not cost optimized it, or you don't have really a good onboarding experience, then the impact of what you are doing is rather limited. So when you are building AI applications in your company, don't forget about this aspect. I know this is the thing that most people don't like, but it's part of the game. Yeah. Like normal software, also AI has quality and has evaluation aspects out of that you should look into to see its actual impact. And that is a very high level overview of this company AI framework that I have been. So I sometimes have consulting gigs where I go to organizations and where I talk to a bunch of different people, and I'm filling basically for them out these boxes and build their own AI framework for them in which they can operate. You can also do that by yourself, of course, if you have the skill and know-how. And we also have a course on Udemy. It's actually pretty cheap right now. I think it's on sale, where we are also going into these different aspects. But that's just as a side note. Then we are talking a little bit about solutions and building solutions, right? Now we have the framework. We know what is the boundary, and now it's the question, what is inside? And there I would like to give you this thinking model of thinking about generalized versus specialized solutions. So generalized solutions are often the solutions that you get first, that are generally available to everybody and are there to cover as many use cases as possible. Often these are chatbots that you have out there, like Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT, but also built-in features like transcription functionality, AI text summarization, AI email drafting. I updated my iPhone recently, and I saw that there's now in the iPhone email app also AI functionality for emails, yeah, for email composing and summarization. And I was not very happy with that. But that's a generalized solution. That's not because Apple is incapable of doing AI. That's because they are looking for standard applications that they can use and give to everybody without having to talk to people and doing specific things by building themselves. That's a generalized solution. And these generalized solutions are right now very heavily pushed by hyperscalers, by your Microsoft partners, by Microsoft itself. My company GPT, yeah, is one of the absolute best examples for this application, for this category of generalized applications that is out there. Yes, I see a question in the chat. Would you have the Udemy course link available? Emilia, can you please put it on the chat?
Link it now.
Thank you very much. Namzia, Namzi Sima, this will come directly to you in a couple of seconds. And someone was drawing on my screen in Zoom. I'm just deleting that right now. That is, the generalized solutions are in contrast to the specialized solutions. So, which I call, you can call it point solutions. I call it specific solution for a business process that requires more orchestration, often multi-step interactions, multi-model things, often things that you cannot just prompt yourself or tell people to prompt yourself somewhere in a solution. Example, I work with a company that is doing real estate appraisals for one of the biggest German banks. They have thousands of real estate appraisals out there where a person is going to visit an apartment or a house, is taking some pictures, and in the end is writing a 30-page report on what this object is worth. That's the core of their value that they build to a customer. And that's and I have had many discussions where people were trying to do that. Okay, ChatGPT, here's like a couple of pictures. Now write my real estate appraisal. That doesn't work like that because there is a more complex process behind it that you need to break down, right? You are talking, at least for German real estate appraisals, you're not just making a paragraph, but it's 30 pages or 40 pages, depending on what it is. You're talking about the area where the apartment is located. You're talking about the interior, the exterior, how you are connected to public transportation, all of these different things. And these different things are something that you don't get out of the box with with OpenAI or with some sort of LLM, because interesting in this case, LLMs are very, very bad at handling distances. So location-wise distances. It can't tell you. It says it's nearby, but then it's 15 kilometers away. And there, these type of applications, or I'm working right now on another application with a pharmaceutical research company where we're helping to support the literature research with literature that's out there. These are all things that are more complex than just a simple prompt. And why I say we need more advanced orchestrations. But on the other hand, there's also more value on it than just by generalized applications. And that's why I have drawn a little bit of a picture that I would just like to show you very briefly. So we have, this is not a two bucket categorization, generalized versus specialized. It's more of a spectrum. Yeah, you can see it from the left to the right. We are going more and more specialized. Generalized solutions, company chatbots, and then specialized solutions like the one as I have been telling you about on the right side. And then there is semi-specialized yet reusable processes and organizations that are somewhere in the middle. Then there is a number of potential applications that can be, let's say, that can be reached with a generalized versus a specialized application. So think about that here in terms of we have a generalized solution, like you build your company GPT, your company chatbot with a little bit of retrieval augmented generation over your own data and maybe some sort of copilot functionality. Then people can do a lot of different things with that one application. Yeah. They can do a lot of different things if they, of course, know how in terms of prompt engineering, in terms of using, in terms of the orchestration that they have to do. Whereas specialized solution, you have a very, very focused part of the of processes that you are impacting. So if you're building like I have done an expert appraisal writing application, it is for that very specific process, writing an expert appraisal. It's not there to summarize your emails. It's not there to help you to generate your HR report. It's there for exactly that process. So that means the number of potential applications per solution that you implement is going down, which is per se nothing bad because the impact of the individual solution is getting higher the more specialized your solution is. So again, think about your email feature and this stuff that Outlook rolled out. Summarize this email for me. Yeah, this email, summarize this email for you. Basically, saves you per email maybe 30 seconds of time. Yeah, maybe if even that. Sometimes the summary doesn't help you and you have to still dig deep. But per case, that is a rather low impact. Whereas this solution, you have a specialized solution that is very fine-tuned on that particular part of the process that your company is doing. You have then a quite a high impact per the solution. If this real estate appraisal writing solution here that I have, that is saving 2 hours per case. With thousands of cases a year for that company that I've implemented it for. So the impact per solution on that case is very high. So you have here an X and it looks like this. These generalized solutions are often for people that are AI leaders, the easiest to get into and the easiest to scale solutions in the very beginning. But the return on them and the return on invest on them has somewhere a plateau and somewhere a threshold where you say, okay, everybody has now a chat application, but only 8% of our company is using our chat. Well, where's the issue? And where I started to believe now that the actual value is the last part that we see on this side. This is more the specialized solutions. I'm not saying a company should only have these types of solution or the other types of solution. I say there is quite a lot of value that most of the people who have explored these generalized chatbots in the very first stages are not yet. But where they can get a lot of value if they can move from here to here. That I will quickly show you a reference architecture where you can have ideally generalized and specialized solutions on for many different use cases. Before I do that, I will give you that you can put that in perspective. I will just put a few words about what I do in my day-to-day life. I am the CEO of a company that builds a product called entAIngine. Yeah, it's the enterprise AI process engine that is basically an independent platform that connects different models from different vendors. So we have OpenAI, Mistral, Llama, but we also have the Google, the Gemini models in a no-code interface that you have here to build specific processes, automate these processes, build agents, put these agents and these orchestrations in chat interfaces or in an editor application, depending on what it is that we have. And that is combining different models, but also different ways of orchestration, fine-tuning, retrieval augmented generation, but also, other organizational aspects. And I'm using this platform to build applications for customers. And often I am not just giving this platform to a customer and he says, okay, we are just forgetting about everything that we have already internally, but I'm connecting this to an already existing AI hub. And just as an example, and also how these AI hubs could look like, I would like to show you a bit of our reference architecture. That's a little bit more technical now, of course, where it has. So on the very top level, for what we are doing, there's always some sort of user interaction front end. We have an application that is called entAIngine Studio, where you have this drag and drop interface and where you can build 4 different types of applications: chat applications, process form applications, search apps, and editor apps, all with agentic capabilities. all with auto-generated interfaces. I see often that other, specifically enterprises, when they build their own chat platforms, they have a specific interface in front of it that is then making just a call to the OpenAI platform. Or different other applications where it's more embedded or more specialized solutions. These calls make these front ends or these user interaction rates make then calls to a backend that is in our case also rather complex. There's what we call the engine, and then the engine is basically our orchestration engine. The term orchestration is something that I use very often. It's basically selecting the right model for the right prompt in the right process with the right data. That's basically orchestration, putting that together. And in here we have an AI model hub, what we on our side have implemented. And often we don't use our own AI model connection hub, but we use the AI model hubs that other companies have and integrate it into our platform so that our customers have other possibilities than that. And there is the whole zoo of different AI models. We have never trained our own AI model for LLMs, of course. We're using the OpenAI models, the Microsoft OpenAI service models. There's a lot of models in AI Foundry. Google has many different models. And also open source models are not to be forgotten. There is aggregators like Deep Infra that let you get access to open source models like Llama in hosted infrastructure. What I'm also a big fan of right now is Perplexity, and of course we can connect any other thing. Then this orchestration engine has, of course, the company knowledge that is usually being addressed to some sort of retrieval augmented generation service. If you're using the Microsoft Copilot Studio, that's basically doing nothing else than retrieval augmented generation over your SharePoints or whatever data that you have over there. And that's the other part of orchestration. There is also AI is not living in just an empty space. There's also other systems in your organization that you might want to interact with, that you might want to get data from, or that you might want to make insert statements into databases or trigger other functions, getting the functions back and doing with AI something with it. And therefore, there is also what I recommend in these type of reference architectures that you have an API connector. We have implemented it with AWS Lambda because that's rather helpful. And then you have all of your applications, and all of these applications are basically just templates that are stored, and that whenever someone wants to use them, can be orchestrated over here. Then on the left side, you have, of course, all of your user management, your monitoring services, your authentication, authorization, everything that comes behind that. And what I do day to day is, we give this out as a software as a service, or we deploy it on premise in AWS or in Microsoft Azure. So that people who are in charge of hubs can basically just get some of the parts that they might not have in their own hubs by themselves. But it also is here to illustrate to you just how I think this is a good way of doing that, because this architecture is nothing that some academic has worked out because they think it is nice. That architecture has evolved so much over the last couple of years, so that we have as many happy customers as possible. And I would say we have a rather big variety, so that I can say if you are going with something that looks like this, you are probably not too far off of a good solution. I hope that helps you a bit. And I would like to tell you, as my last part before we go into more deep questions from you, my very specific learnings on building these 43 apps with our customers over the last couple of years. It's not a situation that there's one model to rule them all. 2 years ago, there was only OpenAI and all the other models were completely crappy. We are not in that situation anymore. We are now in a situation where some models are good or bad for the one task versus the other. Gemini 2.5 Pro is something that I personally use very much in reasoning and specifically in creating longer text, because it's very good at finding the needle in the haystack if you are putting hundreds of pages into it and extracting that from it. Perplexity. I use Perplexity for over the API in entAIngine, of course, for any type of web search related activities. Yes, there is ChatGPT with tool use and with web search, but I have realized that Perplexity is in the way that you can go deep into these different functionalities. It's far superior to what I have seen when you come to really customize. Yeah, if you need a web search to figure out how the weather is going to be tomorrow, then any of these web search enabled applications can do that for you. But if you need really deep research, really deep research, then I have found that Perplexity is actually much better than ChatGPT. Um, my other learning standalone tools, ChatGPT and the models behind are different. Yeah, it's a different user experience, and you also have when you are using the models behind, for example, via an API, much more customizations options regarding system prompts, regarding orchestration, regarding having multiple steps orchestrated behind it that are there. And I have also seen that there is very rarely the need for fine-tuning a model. Fine-tuning a model, I mean here in terms of taking an open source model and retraining it or further training it with your own data. If you are using that for getting your own data knowledge into the fine-tuned model, I would rather recommend you RAG. The only real application that I see right now for fine-tuned models, if you want to do style-based fine-tune and you want to teach a model to replicate a certain writing style that you can't get it out of the box. If you are only looking yourself into one specific vendor, you have a dependency that might put you back. I say I work with, I'm independent, I work with all of them, I work with Google, I work with Microsoft, but I have seen that this flexibility comes with clear benefits. Orchestration is often much more critical than the model itself. So there's a basic level that each model can do, but if you're not happy with the output of your application, and changing a model only helps you to a certain extent. You should also look into what prompts, what input you are feeding, how you're orchestrating. Are you doing step by step, or are you doing one big prompt? And that's the other part. Multi-step, multi-model applications are the go-to approach for specialized tasks. And another thing, and that might for most of the people of you come not as a surprise, but in these AI projects, the technology is often not the bottleneck. It's often politics, communication, governance, compliance, all of the other stuff that you have to deal with apart from technology is often the thing that puts you actually back in your timeline, not the technology itself. And what I have also learned is that internal AI hubs, AI departments, people that are there to serve the whole organization, they are often flooded with internal requests for specialized applications and can't handle it. So they are trying to deliver generalized solutions to everybody and just hope somebody is there. But I have also talked with people that are not the AI hubs, but they have to put their wishes on a little paper and put it into the wish box of the AI department, and then I see that it's not getting priority. If you really want to enable long or large scale impact of these type of applications, I recommend you to have a setup where you are not the AI hub is not the bottleneck, but you enable people also to build in parallel in a more decentralized approach. And that is my learnings and that I wanted to share today with you on this topic of AI hubs, of AI agents, of organizations. Now, my last slide is going to be a bunch of different QR codes that you can scan. If you are looking for help, I'm doing consulting for internal hubs, I do soundboarding. I also implement applications. Feel free to scan this QR code to book a meeting with me. If you are looking for help to build a specialized application, where you are getting out there, and you just don't have the capacity. I have a whole team of people that are building these type of applications from proof of concept to production. Feel free to scan this QR code. If you want to try out our software, I'm more than happy to sit together with you, show you a bit how it works, and maybe you can use it. Also, feel free to book a meeting with me. And if you want to learn more about our strategy, frameworks, and hubs, I have for AI leaders a Udemy course. It's not very long. It's half a day, where you get a much more deeper insight than what I could deliver you today in 45 minutes. And there's a special promotion on that. It's rather inexpensive. You shouldn't have any problem of getting that reimbursed. Feel free to scan this one over here. Staying connected with me goes here. And if you have any other types of questions that are not covered in here, feel free to write an email to me, to this email on the screen. And with that, I am at the very end of this webinar, and I'm opening up the floor for more questions. And I saw a message from True. We have seen use cases where, for example, fine-tuning a 1.5 billion parameter Qwen3 model beat GPT-4o in accuracy in specific domain, i.e. natural language to SQL. There's a significant application for this. Yes, for specialized domains. Yes, for very specific domains, for very specific single tasks. You can use fine-tuning, and it makes a lot of sense. Not for applications where you would like to get your own knowledge into a model so the model can give your knowledge back to you. I completely am with you there. 1.5 billion parameter model true is also pretty small and pretty cost efficient, I would say. And for these things, it makes a lot of sense. This is what I would consider a rather niche use case from the things that I have seen over the past couple of years. If you have something where this makes sense, I completely tell you, yeah, go for fine tuning. But if you are looking for fine tuning as the go-to approach for everything where you are needing additional knowledge, then I would rather recommend to think about it a second time.